Well, we got a new game just dropped, Torchlight 3. Today I'm going to go over the pros and cons of how I feel about the game and whether it's worth it for you to pick it up or maybe wait a little longer. So Torchlight 3 is in early access on Steam, so it's not finished yet. It's got a few things, it's got to be worked out. I imagine it's probably 6 months, maybe, from being fully fleshed out. And by then, hopefully it's in a little better spot than it is now. Although right now, I feel that it is still pretty fun. So one thing that Torchlight 3 has going for it is the classes do feel pretty unique compared to other ARPGs that I've played. There's 4 classes. You get a generic sharpshooter style bow gun user. Then you have a dusk mage, which combines an element of using dark magic and light magic, and one fills the other, so you can't always just use one. You have to kind of juggle them. Then there's a Wild West style death spider that uses melee weapons and then has a cannon that shoots out of its chest. And then the 4th class is a rail master, which is a melee style character that has a train with up to 3 guns or shields following it around, blasting enemies, which is pretty unique from what I thought. It's a unique take on the turret minion style character to play. It does have a unique art style. It's sort of cell shaded, sort of cartoony, there is still violence. You do see enemies blow up, they do explode, there is blood, there's the regular type of mobs, skeletons and zombies, and there's goblins, and there's spiders, so there are all those things in the game, but it is a pretty good art style. I don't mind it. I quite enjoy it. It's kind of exaggerated, I guess would be the way to say it. So the way the mobs are different gives me sort of it's sort of an MMO-like feel. You do have to move out of the way of certain abilities that enemies will have. Some will put fire on the ground, some will drop things from the ceiling, some will teleport, which is pretty standard for most ARPGs. But it does give it that feel that there is a little more you have to worry about than just smashing and grabbing. The weapons do have fairly unique affixes for each other. So there's like electricity, fire, poison, ice, those kind of things. Ice does slow, poison can shoot poison snakes or spiders, electricity can fear enemies and chain to different enemies, and fire sets them on fire. And as you acquire more gear, your character does get more powerful, which is always something you like to see in a game like this that's predominantly gear driven, is that as you get more gear, your character does drastically improve in the way that they deal with the different mobs that come out at you. Along with that is that you do generally get 1 legendary about every hour you play. I don't know if that's sort of coded into the game, but I did find that roughly every hour that I played, I did get a legendary, which is good to see. You always like to be getting more loot in games like this. I don't think anybody wants a repeat of Anthem. There is a lot of keybind freedom, so you can choose to move with the WASD keys if you have a mouse that you want to use all the thumb buttons on, or if you want to combine that. You can click to move, you can use the WASD keys, as I said, which I found pretty refreshing, being able to change how you move rather than just click to move. I will say all of these things come from a person who has never played Torchlight 1 or 2. I personally didn't even know the franchise existed, so this is my first foray into the Torchlight franchise. From my understanding, 1 and 2 are very good games made by different people, so that would be where the difference is in the games that people are noticing. Overall, I would say that I'm having a blast playing the game. I do want to come back to it. I do think that it's provided me with a good deal of entertainment. I like playing it. So far, the devs seem like they're listening to people. It is early access. They are taking feedback. They're fixing bugs. Now, whether it should have gone into early access already or just waited, maybe done a longer beta, there's all sorts of different reasons, right? If they needed the cache influx, they needed the cache influx. It's hard for anybody to tell unless you're on the inside without just assuming that it's a cache grab or whatever. So now we'll get into some of the cons from the game. One big thing, which I don't know exactly how to put my finger on it, but the UI feels it feels too big, to be honest, and it feels like it takes up too much of the screen. I don't know, if they just shrink it, would it feel better? And then the menu, when you open up the menu, there's like a feel, you just when you're using it, there's a slight feel, it feels sort of clunky, but it does match the art style of the game, which I don't mind. So, I don't know how they could fix it. It's just one of those things that needs a little polish maybe, and then it would feel a lot better. The game was originally slated as Torchlight Frontier, which would have been a free-to-play game with, I imagine, many microtransactions. And it feels like some of those elements are still in the game as we speak. There are working on taking some of those out, from what I've heard from the devs. The fort system, I think they wanted to keep people instanced out of the main city when they are crafting or building their materials. It does add, so the fort itself, the buildings that you build in it do add, I think, an extra layer to the game that people aren't necessarily giving it credit to. There are different things that you build that make it better, easier to find gear, that you take less damage, that you do more damage. There are lots of cool things that you build in your fort through materials you find in the game. There's like an enchantment station in your fort where you can upgrade certain gear that drops with enchantment slots on it. So there is a few cool things about it. I imagine it's also a thing they can put in the game to make people chase decorative items. It's something that I think most people always want a fort in their game. People have been asking in WoW for, houses or guilds, taverns or anything like that for a long time. And you look at games like Skyrim, you can have houses in that. So I think people generally do want a fort or a house that they can build and customize and really personalize. You can go to people's forts, so you will be able to show it off and, flex on some people with different bosses that you've killed and cool things that you've upgraded in your fort. So a few things that I would improve are some of the items that feel like they're still left over from the free-to-play system. Those I would definitely change or take out just completely. The potion system, they are on a cooldown and you have to find them or buy them. And I feel like you either need to have it so that you find them and buy them and there's no cooldown. You can smash that Q key all you want, drink them potions, or you don't have to find them and it's on a cooldown. I think either system would work, but I think combined, you're kind of always competing. Do I want to keep smashing the potion button, but now I'm on a cooldown, but I found 15 potions, I should be able to use them all, and then I just won't have them for the next fight, so, let me use them. So I think that is something that they need to work on. Another thing that is not in the game currently, which I hope gets implemented, is that everybody's on the same server. Now, that's not a bad thing, and playing with people from all over the world is often a great thing, But if you are an English-speaking person, or a Mandarin-speaking person, or a Russian-speaking person, or a Spanish-speaking person, or any of the other languages that would generally want to play this game, it's hard to communicate. If I jump into a group and everybody speaks Mandarin or Russian, and I don't, or they don't speak English, which a lot of people don't. It's a hard language. It's a clunky language to use. It does provide a barrier for us to able to communicate and really get that feel of togetherness when we're out slaying some bosses. They have said in the early access loading screen that they are adding one more zone and then an end game, whatever that is. I hope maybe they go outside the box and don't just have it be more speed runs, seasons, create season gear. I imagine at some point they will have to do seasons. I think that's the way that these ARPGs stay alive. If you look at Diablo 3 or Path of Exile, I think they have a chance here to maybe step outside the box, maybe make it like an 8-person boss raid, a dungeon. I think something like that would be really cool. The game is $30 right now on Steam for early access. I imagine that it might get more expensive as when it comes to full release. So if you think you might like the game, it's definitely worth $30. I think that if you're someone who plays for a couple hours a night, every couple nights, 3 times a week, you're playing for 2-3 hours, I think it's going to be definitely worth it. If you are somebody who plays 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, you're probably going to finish it. It's not finished, right? There's 3 acts. So you're probably going to finish it, and they don't have necessarily a adventure mode yet in the game. So maybe wait if you've got a lot of time and just keep playing them Path of Exiles and Diablo 3 seasons and enjoy that. This game is not as deep as Path of Exile by any means. I think there are layers to it that people aren't necessarily looking at when you look at YouTube and you see all these negative videos about there's no depth, there's only this many skills, there's not enough playability, there's this and there's this. They are definitely going to need to balance out some of the skills. But if you look at Diablo 3 or you look at Path of Exile, there's always only one correct way to play a class. You find out the 5 best abilities and you use them. If you're someone who wants to try something else, it is going to be subpar when you compare it to what is the top tier. Yeah, you want to give some playability, but at the end of the day, if you're a person that really cares, I need to have so many abilities so that I can use the maximum. If it's just the best ability, you're just going to use it anyways. Overall, I think the game is definitely worth it. I'm completely enjoying it. Like I said, if you have a lot of time, you might finish it quickly. But I think I would say there are more pros than cons to the game right now. And if it's an art style that appeals to you, and some of the uniqueness in the characters appeal to you, check it out. The devs, they have a Discord. They're doing a stream. They do a Twitch stream every Friday, and then on Mondays in the Discord, they answer a number of questions. So they are taking things in from the community, seeing what we like, and moving it into hopefully a much better game that can last a while.